Do you believe in soul contracts, past lives, manifesting, and the power of divine energy? Do you want to dip your toes into the realm beyond what the rational brain prescribes? As a psychologist and fellow human being, I find it interesting to contemplate how we can decrease suffering and ease our human journey in ways that sometimes defy science. When we go beyond the rational mind, an array of windows and doors open, many of which bring us greater joy, love, peace, and fulfillment. So if you'd like to discover more about the healing power of the divine, join me and soul healer Audrey Hope for an uplifting, empowering journey into manifesting love and discovering your truest, best self. Today, we'll focus on this listener's real-life question. I've been dating a little bit over the past year with no success. I can't get rid of the feeling that I lost out by leaving my former partner. We had something really special. I think it was a soulmate or twin flame kind of connection. But I broke up with him because we have very different political opinions. How can I tell if I am meant to be with him or if I'm just drawn to his memory because I haven't really found someone else? And with that issue as the focus of today's episode, I'm Dr. Carla Marie Manley, and this is Imperfect Love. Please note, as this episode may contain sensitive information, listener discretion is advised. If you need support, please see the special links in the show notes. Welcome to Imperfect Love with Dr. Carla Marie Manley, psychologist, author, and relationship expert. I'm here to help unravel mysteries and misconceptions about love, relationships, and mental health issues, plus everything in between. Love is complicated, people are imperfect, and relationships surely can be tough. Together, we'll navigate this messy, imperfect space of real life. Today, I am joined by a fascinating guest, Audrey Hope. Audrey, it's such a joy to have you with us today. I'm so excited for this conversation.
I'm so happy to be here. I love your introduction. I'm so fascinated. I'd love to listen to it myself.
Well, thank you. I can tell it's going to be a wonderful podcast episode. So before we get going, can you tell our listeners just a little bit about what makes you, you?
Well, I was born with the name Hope, so I always knew that was something, right? And I like to give hope to people. But what I do is I say it's a missing piece of the healing pie because it's the soul. And that is beyond the rational mind, as you stated in the introduction. And that means solving problems beyond what we're used to and going sort of into a higher map and looking down. Why is this happening? Why did I meet this person? What is really going on from the level of the soul? And really, it's been a fascinating journey because I was kind of like, honestly, a pioneer in it, working with doctors and bringing that to where I work. I work in a rehab with all sorts of trauma and addiction and all sorts of problems. And to bring that level of healing has been a fascinating journey.
That is fabulous. May I ask you, when you knew, how old were you when you knew that there was something beyond you, or maybe that you were being called, a separate question, I guess, that you were being called into this special realm of soul healing?
Right. People ask me that question a lot. And, I'm from Brooklyn, Queens, so it's not like a thing they do there. They're out playing punch ball. I think that in answer to the age, I think I was born knowing. I always say I was chipped, like I was computer chipped. And I would listen to music and I would know I'm here for really deep reasons. So I think that it was always with me and I always followed it and I always knew following the yellow brick road, that I always had to evolve and become better and better at becoming authentic in myself because the purpose was so high. I really want to give enlightenment and happiness and end suffering to as many people as possible and as fast as possible.
What a beautiful mission. So I have another question for you. Do you see yourself as being someone who channels energy, an energy healer? Do you have special powers? What makes that part of you?
Well, it's kind of like a tapping in. I know that Einstein did it, Edison did it, Van Morrison does it when he talks about, the music of the spheres. All great things, even Da Vinci. You wonder, how did he get all those airplanes in that century, right? It's a tapping in. It's an intuitive phone line. And when everyone can do that, which is my goal, I want to give everyone that phone line and that tapping in, then you get that sacred information and then you get answers. So it's really my goal to help people get it themselves. It's dangerous to listen to a teacher and a doctor. You must listen to yourself. So I like to help people open up that channel. And when you do that, all sorts of downloads. I'll ask, and of course it's been developed over the years, what do I need to know about this person? It's not like I have a set thing that I do with clients. I just open up and it's just like whatever comes. But it definitely is a download. That means this life, past life, the other side, soul contracts, all of it. But it'll sometimes be a Brooklyn thing. Get the hell over yourself, you spoiled brat.
Okay, fair enough. So is there a difference between what you're talking about? I love how you create the image of this phone line, that it's just, I'm seeing almost like this open channel from the self up into the ether kind of thing. And is there a difference in your mind between that and being a psychic?
Well, I consider myself a psychic. I consider all of us psychic, especially as women. But the thing is, you have to heal your issues. You have to be very disciplined, very clear, because if you have issues, then it will get in the way. So as we heal, all of us, our traumas, our problems, we make way for the nakedness of the intuition. We kind of get rid of the blocks. And Michelangelo said that, let me remove the stone, and that's where the art is. So the more we become free, the more freedom we have from our issues, the more intuitive we become.
And that makes perfect sense. It really does, because when we don't work with our issues, they truly cloud our vision. They become using, the idea of the artwork within a piece of rock, within a piece of marble. You have to free yourself by doing the work. So it makes perfect sense. Now, I have another question. You said particularly women. Why particularly women?
Oh, I love this question because I started with women's issue. When I worked in a clothing store, I couldn't believe how unwell women were. Like, I'm not good enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not young enough. And by helping them, that was one of my first jobs, find clothes, I started to hear all how women were suffering from self-esteem. So that's how I really started. And then it developed into everyone, because women are the Shekinah. Women are the light. You can see in our world today, they're always trying to take down women. And it says in the Vedas, the degree to which women are respected is the degree to which a society prospers. Women are matriarchs, goddesses. And when they take his story, it's really her story, they take the spirituality. And so it is my goal and my dream to heal women one at a time, give them back themselves, and not allow this brainwashing that they're second.
Okay, I'm getting chills. So that's really beautifully said. And I work with people of all genders, but I have long had, not just because I'm a woman, I think just because a soul purpose, I really see that women for so long, and for the people of other genders out there, this episode is for you as well. It's just that idea, I'm taking it more into the idea of the feminine archetype, which can be regardless of gender. When we have that beautiful feminine, the nurturing, the caring, the engendering of communication and togetherness and community, there is so much healing for all of us in that space. And there is such, at this time, a dominance of the masculine energy. Not that either is bad or good, but they're out of balance. And so when we have that over domination of the masculine energy, the combativeness, the fight, the ruin the earth to get whatever we want from it kind of thing, we all end up suffering. And yes, thank you for pointing that out and giving it some light. Now, you mentioned a word that I'm not familiar with, Shekinah.
Yeah, that's the light within us.
Okay.
The enlightenment that is our natural birth is in the spine. It's the Kundalini, it's the light, and it's known as a feminine energy. So that's what it is. Women really are the light. And this energy within us is available to all of us. When we make the energy in the spine rise up, we turn on our lights. And that's kind of the secret of the ages too, that we all have it. It's not a deserving, it's an actual turning on of our lights. And it's known as a feminine energy.
Beautifully put. And thank you for taking the time to explain that, because Kundalini I'm familiar with, but Shekinah, I will now be able to add that to my vocabulary. So thank you. And so looking at our listeners' question, where they are really asking about, there's use of some terms. I'd like you to clarify them for our listeners, because I know there's so much confusion actually about those two terms. People will say, my soulmate, my twin flame, the person I'm supposed to be with, what would you say about terms like soulmate, twin flame? Do you see them as the same? Do you see them as different? And what kind of power do they have over us?
Well, I would say there's we date and we could marry sometimes our karma, right? We marry our issues. But going after a soulmate, that's a whole nother thing, okay? And that means the higher love, the best love for me. And my question to your listeners would be, are you willing to do all that it takes to have that kind of love? Because it takes longer. And if we could draw it, it would be like a sunshine in your heart, and it would match the sunshine in a partner. It would be the same vibration. And to have a soulmate, you need to know you're going to walk through flames of fire. You have to heal everything and become your best self, because the divinity in me salutes the divinity in you. So it is a law of attraction. And if someone wants that, the way to do it, let's say you make a list. Let's go a New York version. Make a list. I want this. I want this. I want the man or the woman to respect me. Well, you must become it yourself. You must become your list. You must heal every issue, walk through those fires. And then in that authentic self of healing, you are then ready, because you don't need the person. You are ready then to let go, surrender, and let the universe bring it to you. So in answer to that question, it's a beautiful question. Is this my soulmate? You have to let go. You really have to know that it's different than running around, going on all the dating sites and gotta do it. It's more of a taking care of yourself, loving yourself, not needing someone, burying yourself almost, and then letting go, and then let the universe decide for you. You see?
100%. It sounds, I do have a question on that. I am a believer that when you say completely heal yourself, 100, didn't use the word 100%. 100% heal yourself is what my brain was hearing. And thinking, wow, that's a tall order. I don't know anybody who's 100% healed. I imagine, as hard as I work on myself, I imagine that on the day I die, I'm still going to be healing myself. So that idea for many people may sound like, how could I, then I'll never qualify to meet my soulmate because I have issues. Even though they're working through trauma, working through this, or if they come from my paradigm, which is that we are always evolving, always healing, what would you say to a question like that?
I love that, and I apologize if I made that reference, that because we don't want to, oh my God, I'm not perfect. I hate that. That's not the correct way to say it, but would be like you kind of get to a point where you kind of took care of your major issues.
Thank you.
The major ones, like, oh my God, I have this donut hole, right? We have a donut hole, and I want the man or the woman to fill it. Very dangerous, because if you meet somebody in that and they leave you, you'll want to die. So we want to do the major foundation of the housework, kind of psychology 101.
Thank you.
And then coast above it, because when you marry someone, it's an alchemy. There's still going to be, no matter how evolved you are, there's still going to be, a journey. The stages of love, the alchemy, it's rough. It's not it's not fairy tale. It's madness.
Agreed that it's in those spaces of learning each other that I continue to believe, learning how to respond rather than react, learning to continue to work on your issue if you get triggered, having a partner who doesn't jab your issues intentionally, but, helps you become stronger and you helping them. I think it's one of the most beautiful elements of any close relationship, be it a love relationship or a best friendship or a family relationship. To me, it's a real privilege. So thank you for clarifying that piece. Now, I have another question for you. When we look at, the piece of, now we understand soulmates a little better, let's talk about twin flames. What are twin flames from your perspective?
From my perspective, they're almost the same.
Okay.
Twin flames would be a little higher, a destiny to it, an Adam and Eve kind of thing.
Got it.
Meant to come here and really do something spectacular for the planet. It's pretty similar to soulmates, which is, again, someone that's really meant for you and really helps you to become your best self and do your life's work in the world.
Thank you. Now let's circle back to another term that you used. And I think all of this will help the listener and all of the, the person who wrote in, but also all the listeners understand some of these terms, and you understand them through your lens, and also being able to see, well, what is it perhaps in my life I'm dealing with? So we're circling back to something you said, which is a karmic relationship. Let's talk about karmic relationships.
Love it, because it's Shakespearean. It's a theme that we feel very dramatic. It feels very familiar. We don't need to be very spiritual. We could be New York in this. Oh my God, here it comes again. Here I go again. I've manifested the same kind of person. I feel the same. And when you are in that, you are in some kind of theme in your life. And that, I would say, is karma, what you are really meant to heal. And all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. They are their exits and their entrances, right? That's Shakespeare, which means people play parts for us as mirrored. So to look at it from the level of the soul, what is this relationship mirroring for me to heal? And why does it feel so unbelievably familiar? You could almost draw a circle, put yourself in it and see all your relationships and see what they do. That's the fast version. And you'll kind of get your karma, because you'll be, okay, that happened with my father. Now it's happening with my ex. And there it is. And you can track that and it feels very intense. That's karma. And that's the soul is here to heal that. And when you know that, you don't have to blame the other person. You could go, okay, that's for me to heal it.
I love the perspective of karma. because I really appreciate everything you've said, yet it really fits into a lot of what I work with. A lot of what, quite frankly, I've seen in my life, especially earlier on, where you're a bit blind and you're bumbling around in relationships. And I go, how do I keep getting this kind of person? Why do I keep falling for this kind of person? Why does this person remind me of my dad or this other person? And we might, putting this over top, we don't know enough about the individual who wrote in, but we might be able to imagine that for this listener, perhaps they do tend to pull back from relationships or leave a relationship where there's a political difference or a big difference. Or maybe that's what the family did, where no, if you don't have our political ideology or our religious beliefs, whatever it is, you're on the outside. So when we have different ideologies or perspectives, sometimes instead of trying to find that joining space or the growth space or more tolerance, we choose to exit. So we can imagine that might be taking place. We don't know. So what would you say, looking at karma and looking at this relationship and seeing, okay, maybe this is karma here. What would you say?
Well, you bring up something that's kind of a trend or cycle, what we're in right now in the time period. These are really, as they say, interesting times. And so the new problem is politics.
Mm-hmm.
That is really coming into relationships. I know in my practice, it's a big deal, where it might not have been maybe 10 years ago. So that on its own is a separate thing for the time period. We are in the golden age. We are in the age of Aquarius. That's also another issue. Things are going to be like tossing and turning because that's what happens when you heal, right? You got to go through it. At least we can see everything. But from a karmic point of view, I am thinking more of the one who wrote in, the woman, her regrets. I see that as a thing to work on. She's regretting, she's doubting herself. And I would sort of go in on that. Like, why are you regretting? Why can't you trust your decision to leave and then open up to now what's best for you? So that's what speaks to me about this question.
Is why is the regret there?
Yes.
How would she be able to tell, or they be able to tell, it's orienting them to go back to the relationship and work with the political differences, be okay with the political differences? Or how would they determine if it's best to pivot and just move forward into something else?
Really let go, really look at the self-doubt, really trust oneself to know that, well, I left because I really wanted to, and then open that up and sort of surrender into it and then see what comes, maybe see what comes back. But there's a fear I feel with this listener. There's a fear of being alone, and maybe that's a thing too. Will I find someone else? Maybe I should have settled for that. And we never want to do that. It's not a good thing for law of attraction to settle for something, you see. So I would kind of work with some other issues around this question and kind of clean it up a little bit, about like, you really need to like honor yourself that you left this person. You need to honor that you have these political ideas, and we need to look a little bit at your fears of what you're afraid of, and then do some healing on that, and then open the, to the surrender and start again. See what comes. See if this person comes back.
I really love how you said, look at the fears, because often we run from our fears rather than looking at them. In fact, that was my dissertation. It was my first book, How to Create Joy from Looking at Your Fears and how those fears. So we can imagine perhaps that the person who wrote in, and many people, as you said, maybe the fear, one primary fear would be, as you very clearly set out, I should stay with this person because there's no one else. I should go back to this person because there's no one else. And then that might bring up other fears that I'm not worthy of finding someone who's really aligned with. And again, I'm not saying, Audrey, that I believe that political differences can't coexist. I believe they can. I believe that if people really respect each other's political differences and respect the person as a whole, that we can live with religious differences, political differences, that of course, I don't need somebody to be an exact mirror image of me. I need them to be respectful of me and what's important to me and what I believe to be important for the greater world, which is generally more love, more respect. But what would you think, again, going back to the question, if this person were to work with their fears and say, okay, I'm okay with the political differences. I came to that conclusion. I was afraid that to be accepting of their perspective, accepting of their way of being, because we don't know what the difference is. I have no idea. But would that help them figure out if this individual is their soulmate?
Well, I would do what I do with my clients. I've helped a lot of people find their soulmates, which is, to whoever you pray to, show me the way. I'm going to let a higher matchmaker bring me my love. I'm going to surrender it to that. And then I would just see what comes. Because my system, I put everything into a system after like 20 years of trying to figure it out. I really put in systems like heal your issues, become your best self, and then surrender. And then ask higher matchmakers to bring it in for you. And I have seen incredible miracles with that because it's an energy that brings us our soulmate. It's not a rational thing. It's an energy that comes, which is fascinating how it comes. I mean, that's how I met my husband. I did that and then surrendered and then flukishly heard a voice that said, go on plentyoffish.com. And that's where I met him. I mean, how could you rationalize that? You see? So when you let go, and I work with my clients on it, and like all of a sudden, like you're here, somebody from Texas comes in, and then all of a sudden you're with them. It's like there is a magnetic force when you clear the deck.
Thank you. And Audrey, I really appreciate how you focus on doing your work, because many people believe that if I just put myself out there, I just was divorced, or just yesterday left my long-term relationship, or have gone from guy to guy, or girl to girl, whoever to whoever, that I will find the right one. I read a book on manifesting and it will come my way, but they don't do the inner. And I appreciate how you focus on, not that we're going to be perfect, but that if here's where you start, one of the places you started from that I didn't applaud, and I really want to applaud now, how you focused on that piece of, if you have this list of what you want the other partner to bring, kindness, respect, loyalty, compassion, create those qualities within yourself. Be that person, become that person. And I think that that's often undervalued or not even seen, because we have this list for who we want, but we want them to give us this and give us that and be this and be that. Yet we may have never been to a psychotherapist. We may have never meditated and really worked on polishing. I call it polishing the stone of who we are. There's a lot of polishing for us to do.
Right. And another thing is listening to yourself, like listening to your instincts. They're always there, and they're always there at the beginning. Some people call it red flags. But, let's say I work with this one client. I work with her through her divorce. Then she had a date. She's had this date with this guy. I said, oh my God, it sounds like he's the exact same guy as your ex. She goes, yeah, but he's so cute. And he's in the music business. She was in the music business. I said, no, this is what we're going to do. Call him up and break the date. Just break it. Don't see him, because it is the same. You know it. And she kind of knew it. That week, she went on a plane to Croatia, and she met the guy that she's with because she ended the issue and she listened to the truth that it really was the same. She knew it. She was going to do it anyway, but someone was there to stop her. And then she said, no, I'm not doing that. No is a great word when you want to date. No, I'm not doing this again.
No, Andy. I love no and I love pause, because if we press, it gives us time to reflect, time to journal, time to sort things out. It's funny, I was working with a client the other day who was talking about a dating thing, and the individual was on a date. Somebody in their life was on a date, and the person they were on the date with is in training to become a commercial pilot. And the woman said to the guy, "Oh, I've heard that pilots always cheat on their partners." And the guy said, I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know. And my response after hearing that was, and the individual, the woman was like, okay, don't need to follow up on this. Her instinct was very strong.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a blunt question. I find it a great question. And it got straight to a concern. She was checking, hey, are you going to be a faith partner? And if he had any questions like, we'll have to wait and see, good to close the door, good to lock it behind you as well. And so I think that when we follow our gut instinct, take note of a red flag, as this individual did, notice the red flag, think about it if you want, journal about it, and notice that in today's world, we're told so much, be rational, be rational. Don't pay attention to what your gut's telling you. Use your logical mind. Our gut has so much information to tell us.
Yes.
There is so much there if we pause to listen.
Yes.
Pay attention. And what do you think? I find that the gut instinct, unless there's an emergency, like car's about to hit us, in which case it's like, big noise. But often our gut is very quiet. It's just kind of like a whisper.
Yes.
Be careful.
Yes. It's called the still small voice from within. And it's there, but we're always distracted from listening. But when you teach someone to listen, they could even tell why they get sick. I mean, we could be our own doctors in a way, because our body is trying to tell us something. So we have to learn to listen.
Okay, let's pause here for a second. For someone who is used to being, this is not particularly for the listener's question, but for many people, they're so busy. They're on a treadmill, metaphorical treadmill, every day, running, going, TikToking, Instagramming, thinking, searching, zoning out on whatever TV show. And they're not pausing to go within. They don't even know what that means. What would you say? And I also believe, I'm not judging, there's no judgment here, but I also believe many people, when that voice starts coming up, they self-soothe. They bring substances on board of all sorts, behaviors of all sorts, so that they are tuning out what is actually a very helpful inner voice.
Well, the universe will step in and give you a little accident. Something will break. If the universe wants you to know something, it will give you a love tap, then it'll get harder, and then it'll be and my clients have like car accidents, like, wow, what a wake-up call. So the universe is always giving it to us if we're not listening, till eventually we go, okay, I give up. I'm listening now. Like the woman who'd had a truck hit her, my client, Yeah, you're with an abusive man. The truck had to come in. So this is a living universe. And pay attention. Pay attention to animals. Pay attention, a coyote came to my window the other day. Pay attention. The animal kingdom is really sacred. So be alive in it and watch what comes out of the blue. And that's the universe talking to you. But the sense of quiet, I would say nature. What a religion nature is. Just walk outside. Do not take your phone and just quietly walk for like even 20 minutes.
100%. I am an avid nature lover, walker every morning, and I agree with you. Doing it without, I know I'm prone to listen to my podcasts, but I do now carve out the first mile of my morning walk to have nothing Nothing in my ears, just my breath, just the sound of nature. That's it. And I think when we learn to do that, not only do we fall in love with silence and the sounds of nature, which certainly aren't silent, but we also do as what you're saying. We notice how our body's feeling. We notice where the tightness is. Little messages come to us like, oh, let's think about this. Let's do this. Let's not think about anything at all. Let's just be. And when we are in that space, and turning it back to the question of the day, the individual may find that an upwelling of information when she's in this quiet space that helps point her into maybe, who knows what it'll say. Don't date right now. Go to this art class. Take a walk over here. Think about this. Because often, and I've seen this when people get into serial dating, there's a lot going on that we can't. Our instinct can get easily muffled because there are too many personalities in the room and in the head. What do you think of that?
Well, you're talking about energy, which is also part of soul healing. Like, for example, if you leave a relationship and you signed, let's say, even the divorce papers, great. But energetically, you are still tied to that person. So if you don't cut that cord and do it energetically, they're still going to be following you. Even if someone passes away, they're still following you. So one of the things I do in my healing is to look at those cords and cut them, because it needs to be cut on an energetic level, you see? And that's why even Feng Shui, they say, like, be alone. All one is the word, all one. You're alone, you're in empty space. Empty space is a launching pad. They say throw out the ex's stuff, clear your space, because that alone, sacred space is very important when you want to manifest new life and a new love, you see? So energetically, we have to heal too.
I agree with you. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about the importance of when we have ended a relationship, not out of malice or anger or anything negative, but clearing out our energetic space, and not just the energy, not just saging everything, because people a lot of time, but they'll have reminders, old photographs, this tucked here, that tucked here. And so every time we see it, even if we don't realize we're seeing it or touch it or walk by it,
Right.
we're getting that energy. And it was interesting. The person I was talking to, they said, should I even get rid of the expensive things? And I said, I can't tell you what to get rid of or not get rid of. But I know in my life, I love passing things on, whether it was from a former partner or just something that I no longer use. Giving it a new life where that energy can be and have a different purpose rather than something that's holding me down. And so
Exactly. And also inside to find the cord. Where is that attachment to the trauma also? And then you'll see everyone. I've never had anybody not be able to find the cord where they're attached and then look at that. Sometimes they'll see a hook. Sometimes they'll see a rope. Okay, talk to this person and say, I'm ready now to cut this cord. What do I need to say to you? So energetically, you are making sure in the invisible realm, you're not attached.
And for those listeners, if you're thinking, what are you two talking about, this invisible realm? Think about it. You can be on a walk with someone or, on a walk in a restaurant, in a shopping area, and feel someone's eyes on you and turn. How did you know their eyes were on you? How did you know it? There is this invisible energy.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And how do you know that when you're hiking and you sense that there's a bird up in the tree, you didn't hear a noise, but you turn and look and there's an owl staring at you. How do you know this? Because we have these beautiful powers when we're open up, when we
Yes. And sometimes it's anxiety and sometimes it's stress because we took too much luggage, especially as women. We're holding the karma, the energy of someone else, and we've taken on too much baggage. That's a very big thing with anxiety and stress, to look at what people took on and to make sure we don't go to school for someone. We wouldn't go to school for our own child. We cannot fix people and save them. We must make sure you have your luggage and I have mine, and I am not taking yours. You do it and I'll do mine. So energetically, with anxiety and stress, when people are very sensitive, misdiagnosed, ADD, oh, this is a whole nother subject. That you're very sensitive, you're an empath. You actually took on the energy of your parent when you were very young because you realized, because you're so wise, that this is not going to go very well. So I better save my parent. I better become a caregiver. I better do something because I'm not going to get my needs met. And that's an energy thing that you need to go back to the soul wound when they were little, the primal wound, and cut it energetically.
I really appreciate so much of what you're saying because it's another way. It's not, something you're taught as in a doctorate program.
I know.
But a lot of it is very intuitive when we see that. I'm going to circle back to the listener's question again, where there is often this belief that as women, that we have a partner who will make us whole. And the idea comes from, the Cinderella fairy tales that we will, and I'm not saying that this is what the listener was meaning, but there's this sense that this is my soulmate, this is my other half, my twin flame, my other half, and I will find this person of whatever gender and I will be whole and I will live happily ever after. Yet the origins of that fairy tale, it was about this person, any individual of whatever gender, meeting their male half and their female half, their energy coming together to find that divine feminine and the divine masculine, the nurturing and the power, and bringing them together. And when you do that, you live happily ever after. You become whole. And then you go out and you're this beautiful whole, never perfect, but this beautiful whole self that's always polishing, always working, always having fun with it, and patience with that process. And then as you're rolling along, bouncing along, whatever you're doing, there you find the other part. So if we bring it full circle back to our listener, perhaps we can't tell them what to do, but perhaps, and I think I'm pretty much restating what you said at the beginning, look at taking a break. Look at just being yourself, working on yourself, looking at becoming a little more whole, falling in love with you, yourself. Some people are going to be listening and say, I don't even know who I am. Then you have a nice little journey there to become more of your whole self. Never perfect. I keep stressing. That's why the podcast is called Imperfect Love, because we're never perfect. And then whoever is meant to come to them, if someone is meant to come to them, because sometimes we're meant to travel solo in this life, if that feels right to us. But we don't want to travel with someone who's not right for us, someone who causes us pain or discomfort or those things. Not that relationships don't have pain in them. We just don't want a partner who is purposefully causing us pain. So what do you think of that idea of the masculine and the feminine? Does that comport with what you were saying?
Absolutely. We need that balance in the world and individually. That's the whole problem. Take their masculine trying to take over this beautiful energy. And we're constantly, through the ages, having to fight. We need to kind of help the women look at themselves, get their self-esteem back. Then we'll be okay. Once the women take back their self-esteem, the whole planet will rebalance.
And it sounds like a big task, yet one step at a time, by just being true to ourselves, working on loving ourselves, knowing ourselves, accepting ourselves. And acceptance doesn't mean that we have to stay in one form. It simply means like a flower accepts itself. It's not trying to be a bird. It still grows and evolves and blossoms and goes through its phases. And so I think that that's such a beautiful image for all listeners, realizing we can accept ourselves as we grow, as we strive to be filled with more love, more respect, more empathy and compassion, self-care, all of these beautiful things that will then help you, because you're more in tune with yourself, more in love with yourself, find a partner who will love you in the same way.
Exactly. Because if you don't have self-esteem, I would say pause. Just pause. Wait. Stop the dating sites. Just stop everything and truly work on your self-esteem. Because that's the jewel right here. When you have that self-love, everything. It helps in career. It helps in inner peace. It helps in relationships.
As we prepare to wind up, Audrey, and just one more question just to put a little bow on this, and feel free to add anything else. But many people, in every book I've written, all 4 of them, I define self-esteem. I differentiate it from self-confidence. Could you, in your own words, share what you believe self-esteem is?
It's like it's understanding the soul, which is the little flame in the heart that cannot be extinguished, and getting in touch with that sunlight in the heart and paying attention to that beautiful shining light and honoring it. I am the light, and seeing that flame, knowing no one can take it, and just making sure we pay attention to it and make it grow a little bigger. But it's the light within. And if especially now in this world, if you are aligned in that, you can navigate through some really hard times.
So beautifully said. And I love how you help us see it as light, because that light is so, when you get in touch with your inner light, you're not trying to be anyone else. You're just not trying to be anyone else. You're just trying to be your best self. And you're not questioning who you are, or how valuable you are, or how worthy you are, because you know in your core, I am good. I am lovable. I am worthy. I am strong. I am not perfect. And I don't need to be perfect to be loved.
Amen.
So, my goodness, Audrey, you are such a treasure.
You are a treasure. I've loved this.
Thank you so much. Where can our listeners find you?
Well, my website, audreyhope.com, but also on Instagram at the Audrey Hope.
Perfect, listeners. This will all be in the show notes. Audrey's name is easy to spell, just like it sounds, Audrey, Hope, Hope. It will be in the show notes so you can easily find this magnificent woman, this beautiful, shining human being.
Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey, for being with us today. I am so grateful.
Keep up the great work. You are so divine.
As are you. And thank you to our listeners for being with us today. It is always such a joy and a privilege to walk through this lovely journey of life with you. And this is Imperfect Love. Thanks so much for sharing your time with me today. Remember, you have the power to transform your life and love fearlessly, if imperfectly, and it's my privilege to help you along the way. You can find more life-changing content, including my books and other podcast episodes, at drcarlamanley.com. Feel free to submit your own confidential questions through my website. I'll do my very best to include your issue on a future episode. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and leave a review. Until we connect again, this is Dr. Carla Marie Manley wishing you oceans of blessings and love. Please note, this podcast is psychoeducational in nature and is not intended to replace formal mental health support. Please contact your healthcare provider or emergency hotline if you need psychiatric care. And, as always, please take good care of your amazing, wonderful self.